welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Georgie, I'm the founder of Pepped, and I'm going to be leading the session today, focused all around the Pepped direct-to-consumer SMS method. So here's a little bit more about what we're going to be covering. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll look at the challenge that SMS presents, as well as the opportunity for direct-to-consumer brands. Then we'll take a deeper dive into a few key principles of SMS marketing before laying out a clear plan on how to get started. So what are the challenges when it comes to SMS marketing? Well, we find that, as you all know, inboxes and social media feeds are becoming increasingly inundated with ads and branded content, making it quite difficult to stand out from the crowd. Many brands are also a little bit worried about the litigation when it comes to SMS marketing and the rules and regulations around it. So we're going to come onto that in a little bit more detail too. That can be a bit of a sticking point. And finally, knowing how to implement a killer SMS marketing strategy that your customers actually want to receive can feel like a little bit of a dark art. I'd love to know which of those three sort of challenges resonates with you most. Is it the kind of standing out from the crowd? Maybe you're a little bit worried about the kind of the litigation, the rules and regs around SMS marketing, or is it actually just knowing where to start that's a bit of a challenge for you? Let me know, 1, 2, or 3. 3. Okay, yeah, I thought that might be the case. Cool. Great. Okay, that's good to know. Well, the good news is we are going to be covering kind of where to start in this session. So hang on and we'll get into that side of things. So the opportunity. So the good news here is that if you're looking for ways to have personalized conversations and cultivate relationships with your customers, then SMS is likely to be a really great opportunity for your brand. And there are 3 key reasons why we think that's the case. So first is that SMS marketing creates more personal customer relationships, making it ideal for D2C brands. Brands actually have the opportunity for greater audience reach. So if you're doing email, that's great, super, but SMS adds that extra layer of sort of communication and opportunity for you. And finally, consumers engage with SMS much faster than any other channel. As you might imagine, you know, someone's got their phone with them 24 hours a day, pretty much. When they get that little message or that alert on their phone, most people open their messages pretty much there and then. So it's a much faster way to engage with your customers. So just before I dive into the detail, here's a little bit more on who I am. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Georgie. I'm the founder of Pepped. We're a email and SMS marketing agency, and we specialize in working with direct-to-consumer brands, primarily in the health and wellness space. So over the last 2.5 years, we've worked with a variety of high-growth health and wellness businesses, both in the UK and the US. And prior to launching Pepped, my background was in email and lifecycle marketing. I was at a business called House, actually, which some of you may have come across. It's a website and app for home redesign, originally a US company, but I was leading the international lifecycle marketing there. So it's been something that's been in my sort of wheelhouse or career for a very long time. But that's a little bit more about me and Pepped. So before we dive into detail, would it be helpful if I share the recording with you after the session? We are recording the session, so easily can send that across. Just hit yes or no if it's not relevant for you in the comments, just to let me know, and I'll ping that across to everyone. Amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem. I will get that across. Super. So there are 3 key principles we always follow when supporting clients with their SMS marketing. And I'm going to go through those 3 principles now, and then we'll cover more about how to actually start and implement your SMS strategy. So first key principle is to personalize whenever possible. So personalization is paramount when it comes to e-commerce SMS marketing. In a consumer study actually conducted by Klaviyo, personalization was the common thread for subscribers when identifying which messages they like receiving from brands. Of course, personalization is important when with email marketing too, but with email, you get away with a lot more because it's not as personal or as in your face as SMS. The feedback loop is much tighter with SMS. So if you don't personalize your text messages, you'll likely see higher unsubscribe rates and potentially some complaints as well. Whereas with email, people tend to just delete a message that's not relevant for them. There's not the same level of scrutiny compared with SMS. So just something to bear in mind. But on that note, personalization can mean different things to different marketers. And so it's important to distinguish between sort of basic personalization tactics, like using someone's first name, for example, and a more thoughtful strategy that puts customer data at the forefront of your personalization. Really, the sort of crux of personalization is about combining customer first data in order to create a really personalized experience. So that's the data that you collect from people as you learn more about them, as they interact with your brand. So one great way to go about doing this is through segmentation and building out customer journeys that you can send to different segments. We'd actually recommend that you consider following this criteria to jumpstart your SMS strategy. So thinking about sort of number of orders placed and segmenting that way. You could segment by products ordered or number of products ordered, last order date, so how recently they've bought from you. Demographics, where are they? Subscriber status, if you've got a subscription model, are they subscribed? Are they one-off purchases? And we're seeing this more and more actually as people taking or using quizzes or surveys within their sort of customer journey. So using results and data from those quizzes and surveys can be a really great way to segment. So using this sort of data will allow you to create more defined segments and ultimately better personalize the content of each send. To give you an example of this, rather than sending out the same campaign for an upcoming sale to everyone, you might pick a data point and use it to inform different segments. So let's say you're a skincare brand, you've got a skincare quiz on your website, and the 3 skin concerns that you're quizzing people about maybe are, dry skin, acne, and uneven skin texture, for example. So you have the option here. You could send out the same campaign to your subscriber list in its entirety, but the other option is, depending on which of those 3 answers were chosen in the quiz, you might be might be better off, I should say, tailoring the copy and the first product that's shown in that text to each particular segment. So segmentation just adds that extra layer of personalization, and using these data points is a really great place to start on that. Super. So second key principle is that SMS and email are not mutually exclusive. So effective SMS programs are used to enhance your emails, not replace them. The synergy between email and SMS can help you reach marketing goals while providing a cohesive customer experience across the channel. So don't think of them as being completely separate. Actually, having your email and SMS sort of working together is the best option. So email and SMS messages shouldn't be one and the same. So don't just replicate what you've got on email in SMS. It's really crucial to appreciate SMS as its own unique channel, separate from email. SMS and email do share similarities, but to be successful here, we'd really recommend that you understand the expectations of your SMS subscribers. As you've all experienced from a consumer perspective, what you receive via email might be quite different to what you expect to receive via SMS, and the same for your customers. So when you think about it, it took e-commerce brands a few years to understand how to talk to their customers in the best way. Digital marketing isn't learned overnight. So nowadays, especially since the pandemic, plenty of demographics are open to hearing from brands. Actually read a stat, an interesting sort of stat the other day. According to Klaviyo, consumers prefer to receive time-sensitive messages like shipment and delivery updates via SMS, whereas they prefer to receive messages like loyalty program info and promotions via email. So some quite interesting stats here around, if you're thinking about what types of comms to send by email and SMS, and this is some quite interesting Klaviyo research around what customers generally prefer to receive in terms of different types of messages. So next, I want to talk a little bit more about SMS preferences. So deciphering how often to text your customers can, of course, be quite tricky. You want to stay top of mind and keep your open rates and click-through rates high, but you obviously don't want to come across as annoying or spammy. So the good news here is that I've got some guidelines for you. Again, according to Klaviyo research, the majority of consumers feel that it's acceptable to receive text messages from brands a few times a week. So sort of 30% here and 40% of people saying once a week. So be cautious if you're going to go any more than a few times a week. And messages that consumers would like to receive, as we touched on the previous slide, are generally confirmations relating to their orders, whereas messages they would like to receive less often are typically sort of educational bits of info or item added to cart type reminders. So just be mindful of how often you're texting and the content of your messages. And our third key principle is to play by the rules. So I'll go into a few more of the detail here. So SMS marketing is often talked about as being even harder to set up than running other channels. And that's likely to be because there's strict compliance rules and regulations around SMS marketing. Those are different based on country and even state within the US. But many brands as a result you tend to worry about that sort of litigation side of things and maybe hold back a little bit. So here are a few best practices when it comes to your SMS strategy. The first, and I'm sure you will know this, is to get permission. So you should receive consent from your subscribers before sending them marketing text messages. This consent isn't the same as when you require them to enter a phone number at checkout. So just because a customer gives you their phone number doesn't mean you can start sending them marketing messages. They need to physically opt in to that message. Second thing here is providing opt-out. So let your customers know how to stop receiving your messages. For example, you might let them text stop or the word stop to remove themselves from your list. If a subscriber can't get off your list, they might block your number instead, and that can hurt your SMS deliverability in the long run. So make it as easy as possible for people to stop subscribing if they want to. So use a short code as the third best practice here. So there are short codes and long codes. Short codes are 5 to 6 numbers long and are digital phone numbers used for commercial texting. These numbers are easier for customers to remember and type. So if you can, go for a short code. And the last thing here is to send at the right time. Sounds super obvious, but make sure you respect your recipients' time zones if you're more of an international brand, and don't send marketing messages at 2 a.m. in the morning, for someone in the US if you're based in the UK, for example. So just be mindful of where people are. Great. Okay, so covered our principles there. The next sort of section is to go into the sort of 4 simple steps of actually getting started. So adding new channels to your marketing mix is no easy feat, as I'm sure you can all testify to. So never is a channel one and done situation. It's always going to need iterating and optimizing, and you need to be sort of continually measuring performance in order to track your ROI. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk you through our 4 key principles and advise you that 4 key principles that I'd essentially advise you follow in order to get started. So some of you might already have some SMS marketing in place, so this will be helpful for you as well to make sure that you've got all your bases covered. If you are starting from scratch, then this is the sort of the plan that I'd recommend you take. So we'll dive into that now. Is everyone still with me? Just let me know in the chat. Yeah, put a ready or type a little yes or ready message so that I know you're all still following. Hopefully you are. Great, cool, good to see. Okay, fab. So we'll dive into this bit. So step 1, first step is to grow your SMS marketing list. So remember, you may well have a great email list, but that doesn't mean that you can start text messaging them, regardless if you already have their phone numbers. If you do have phone numbers and you've got people who opted in, great, you can start there. If not, a lot of you might be starting from scratch in terms of growing your SMS list. Of course, the more subscribers you have on your list, the more customers you can engage with. However, subscribers will rarely stumble upon your SMS list and just automatically sign up. You have to reach out to them and incentivize them to join. And there are a few ways you can motivate your customers to do this. You could create a unique offer, especially one that's exclusive to your SMS subscribers specifically. That works really well. You could think about giving customers a time-sensitive deal, for example, like a buy one get one free, or some sort of offer for the rest of that particular day that's time-sensitive for items that maybe you need to get rid of. You can consider adding a sign-up form, specifically an SMS sign-up form, to your website to let visitors know that you're now texting and how to join your list. We've seen this work really well, particularly embedding within sign-up forms within blog posts, or even directly on home pages, just so that you're kind of putting it front and center that you've got this sort of new SMS list, and that encouraging people to join. And the final tip here is to prompt SMS opt-in during checkout. So adding SMS consent collection to checkout allows customers to accept SMS marketing while filling out their delivery information. If you're using Klaviyo, the best thing about this tactic is that they don't need to complete their orders in order to have their consent synced to Klaviyo. So you can more easily and quickly grow your SMS list, even if they abandon cart. So that's quite a neat tactic there. The other thing to consider here is to build exclusivity around SMS as a channel in order to drive more sign-up. So whether it's content, pre-order access, or product drops, give people a reason to sign up for SMS other than just receiving a discount. There's a couple of examples here, actually, which I came across recently. So this first brand is offering access to a VIP SMS club, for example, and the last two are offering early access to new products and that sort of thing. So think carefully, or creatively, I should say, around what else you can offer people that's exclusive to them for signing up for SMS. Okay, so that's step one, growing your list. Step two, so now that you started to build a solid SMS list, it's time to make your new subscribers feel welcomed and to set expectations. So you don't just want to gather all the, a load of people on your SMS list and then not speak to them. You've got to, warm them up and keep them nurtured from an SMS point of view. So as a starting point, consider building the following 4 series within your SMS strategy. So welcome series, abandoned cart, browse abandonment, and a customer win back. First impressions clearly matter, and that's why it's critical to build your SMS welcome series first. That's the one we'd really recommend you start with, just so that it's ready when subscribers opt in. So I would suggest doing this and having it ready pre-going live with all your list growth efforts, or alongside your list growth efforts at least, so that as and when people are signing up, they are dropping into that welcome series and it's not sort of tumbleweed after they signed up. SMS welcome is often the #1 revenue generator out of all SMS workflows as well. So that's something to keep in mind. When you create your welcome series, there are some basic elements that can help you send a really impactful first message. So I'd recommend sending the first message immediately after opt-in. Don't wait. You kind of want to jump on that bandwagon and make the most of that interest. Don't forget to include your brand name, often easily forgotten or overlooked, but including your brand name is obviously a must here. Personalize the message with your subscriber's first name, and let subscribers know how much you appreciate them being on your SMS list, and potentially what they can expect if they've signed up for a VIP club, for example. What's it all about? What can they expect to receive? And finally, provide a clear call to action. And I'd recommend just sticking to the one call to action within an SMS. So having that clear call to action of what you want someone to do next. The other 2 key series to think about are your abandoned cart and your abandoned browse. SMS is actually one of the best ways to encourage visitors to finish the purchase. Again, we've seen data recently that shows that abandoned cart is often the highest revenue, or one of the highest revenue generating flows, together with your welcome series. So it's important to implement them both as part of your setup process. So when you're starting out, I'd suggest welcome series is key, and ideally your abandoned cart as well. Okay, moving on. Step 3. So next step here is to start sending campaigns. So you're growing your list, you've got a welcome and hopefully an abandoned cart series in place. So you're welcoming those new SMS subscribers in. Next thing is to consider campaigns. So these are your one-off sends. So after a few weeks of building your list and warming them up with a welcome series, consider kicking things off with a campaign to all your new subscribers. So top revenue generating SMS campaigns that you might like to consider that we've seen include sort of sale on holiday type announcements, new product announcements, and VIP early access campaigns. So there's a few types of campaigns to sort of whet your appetite and get you thinking creatively. Before we dive into that, there are a few things to make sure you've included within your first campaign. So again, touched on this before, but it is often a forgotten one, but including your company name is critical. Using a single CTA, so keep it short and sweet. Obviously SMS, you've got much less room to say anything, so keep it to the point. Make it conversational in tone. If you can, make a CTA time sensitive, personalize with subscribers' name or relevant info, and try to deliver immediate value here. So this is one of your first campaigns going out. How can you add value to your recipients? And the final step to cover is to measure performance. So the only way to understand what's working for your business is to measure the performance on an ongoing basis, particularly around SMS. So here are some benchmarks that I just wanted to call out that are good places to sort of aim for. So as you can see here, good click rate is between sort of 10.5% and 14.5% for SMS. Conversion rate aiming for between 1% and 2%, and your unsubscribe rate, ideally you want to keep below 1%, or at least between, sort of anything less than 1% is good. So sort of aim for those stats. This is maybe quite a good one to screenshot if you're going to screenshot anything in terms of where you're sort of sticking, where you want to sort of aim for and benchmark yourself against. Brilliant. So that's the sort of our key principles and the 4 steps that we'd recommend you take. Hopefully that's given you a sort of fair amount of food for thought. I'd love to know kind of which bits have been most valuable. Are there any bits that you didn't know about or new things you're going to consider? Let me know in the chat what's been helpful, what's been most helpful. Cool. Yeah, that's good to know, Katie. I think the metrics are good as well, because otherwise it feels like you're sort of a bit of a stab in the dark and not knowing exactly where to aim for. So if you didn't grab a screenshot, we'll send over the recording so you can grab that too. Yeah, cool. What to include in campaigns. Yeah, I think it's particularly interesting around what people are expecting to receive, and as you saw earlier on those slides, it's much more about the order confirmations and those transactional type messages, which work really well for SMS, and then using your campaigns for promotions and things that you really want to call out that are maybe more time sensitive from a campaign perspective. So using it sort of sparingly, and I'd suggest maybe start small and work up, and sort of test the waters. Different audiences will respond differently, so have a think about sort of where those messages are and how they sort of fit into your overarching comms plan. Okay, great. So last thing to sort of cover here is it's very much over to you now. So those are sort of tips and steps that we'd recommend taking from an SMS point of view. If you don't feel like you have enough time or you'd like a little bit more support, we'd love to invite you to book a sort of free 20 to 30 minute strategy call with me to focus on that SMS side of things. I can promise it's not a sales call. It's purely to help you with SMS marketing. So Tashani, my colleague, has just dropped our book a call page into the chat. So either go through now and book away, or make a note of the link and book a time that suits you. It just goes straight to my my calendar, so feel free to sort of book a slot. And now I'll leave this on screen so you've got it, but if I'd also like to open up for any questions. So please either put your questions in the chat or feel free to come off mute and ask away. Hi, Katie. So Katie's saying, we're struggling to get our from name enabled as we believe it requires some API request amendments. Do you think it will hurt our engagement? In the meantime, we are sending out SMS messages and candidates are receiving the message without a from name. We're including a company name within the body. Yeah, that's a good question. You know, ideally, it's obviously going to look a little bit, it's going to look much better if you've got your company name as your from name. I guess it's maybe a question back to you, Katie, is it depends on how quickly you can get that resolved. If it's going to be a longer term challenge or it's going to be take a little bit more time, then you know, maybe start with as you are without the company name in the message. But you know, I recommend ideally, if you can, to get that fixed as soon as possible. If it's going to be a big headache and it's going to take a little bit of time, then test it, try a few campaigns, see what results you get, look at the open rates in particular, as that will likely impact that side of things. And if it's not working, stop. And if it is, then you know that it's maybe not having a huge impact. It'd be quite interesting also to see what happens pre that name being there and post the name being there, to see what impacts that has on your open and your conversion rates.
Yeah, thanks. That's really useful info. At the moment, we're only sending those messages to users that have been using the platform for over a year. So at least they've got some kind of experience with our brand. Whereas for new users, we're not sending them the SMSs purely because they just won't recognize who it's coming from.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, good point. That sounds like, yeah, a bit of a challenge, but hopefully you can get that resolved. Anybody else got any burning questions, either now or my email address is on the screen as well. So you're more than welcome to ping me an email anytime after, and I can hopefully answer any questions you've got then as well. I'll give you a couple more seconds for anyone else to drop any questions in. Cool. Oh, that's my thank you to Shane. Just put my my email address in there, so you've got that too. Okay, great. Well, looks like maybe that's a good sign. I covered everything in hopefully lots of detail there. So thank you so much. It's been great to see you all. Thanks for joining. As mentioned, we will send a follow-up with the recording. Yes, so have a look at that when you get it. You've got my email address and booking page as well, so feel free to get in touch anytime. Would love to chat a little bit more about SMS. If not, I will wish you all a lovely afternoon and hopefully see you all soon.